166. So long, MacPro, we barely knew ye. Recorded live Sunday, March 29th, 2026, live from iTechGear Central. As I said, I'm Christopher Spera, the editor-in-chief here at the iTechGear.org. We've got another full crew again this week, kids. We've got the editor over here at iTechGear and the former contributing editor over at Gear Diary in the late great pocket now. That's Mr. Chris Gavula. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. What, me worry? I feel like the mad kid today. I don't know what to say.
No. Glad you're here, though, brother. Glad you're here.
You too. You too.
Oh.
Hey, let's roll this thing along. Let's roll it along.
That's it. We've also got the editor here at iTechGear and the former contributing writer at Gear Diary and currently the host of the Linux Link Tech Show, Living in the Arcade podcast, and of course, fitness for the rest of us. That's Brother Joe McLaughlin. How are you, sir?
I'm doing just fine after celebrating my son's 27th orbit of the planet.
Absolutely, and happy birthday to him.
Yep.
Happy birthday, Luke. You're awesome.
Yep.
And last but never, ever least, we've got the editor here at iTechGear and the former co-owner of WUGNET Publications. That's Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. How are you, sir?
I need a vacation.
All right. You know what is coming into town in a couple of months here, which I think is kind of cool. It's something that we look forward to every year. We've got WWDC set to happen between June 8th and June 12th of this year, with the keynote going out on Monday, June 8th. And you know, it's always fun. I mean, and this year we're going to hear about the 27s.
What? Why is it that WWDC, that phrase always reminds me of a circus? Oh, wait a minute. It is a circus.
It's because it is a circus, dude.
Right, yeah.
All right. You know, WWDC, of course, the Worldwide Developers Conference, and it's something that, developers can attend V sessions and interface, or even in person, and interface with Apple engineers and other folks over there that are in the know. We've got, as I said, we've got this year's event kicking off with a keynote on Monday, June 8th, likely at 10 a.m.
Pacific, yeah.
Pacific. And then it'll run through Friday, June 12th. So it'll be interesting. Looking to see some interesting things from iOS 27, iPad OS 27, Mac OS 27, Watch OS 27, of course, TV and Vision OS 27. I'm getting the feeling from everything that's being said that this year is going to be a snow leopard year. You know?
Do you think it's going to be a snow leopard year, or do you think we're going to hear a lot about Siri this year?
What do you think we're going to
happen?
I think we're going to hear about Siri, but I think really if there's anything new, that's going to be it.
So explain to folks what a snow leopard year is for those who don't know the term.
Snow leopard. All right, so Apple released Mac OS, what was it, 10.5?
5 or 6,
which was Leopard, way back in the day. That I think it was 2005 that they came out with that, and then in 2006 they came out with Snow Leopard, and Snow Leopard was an update to 10.5, and it was really nothing more than a tightening and a bug fix release, and the rumor has it that iOS 27 is going to be the exact same kind of thing. We're really looking at a tightening of the operating system, squashing bugs, and really making iOS 27 and as well as the rest of the 27s really function more, tighter, better, faster, stronger, right?
Yeah, actually, it was in August. It was fall of 2009. I looked it up.
Well, thank you.
Just to be sure. I wasn't sure.
And it was 10.6, like we said.
10.6.
The version numbers I was pretty tight on, but the years I was a little off on. So, thank you, Larry. Appreciate that. But
thanks, Safari.
Yeah.
Or Google.
There you go. Thank you, Apple. But I really think that this year is going to be a bug fix year and a hardening year, so that it'll be more bulletproof.
I'm hoping so, because I don't want to have to rename this thing Windows 11.
Yeah, thank you. We'll get to that later on.
Yes, we will.
Yeah, God, we always do. Anyway, but I really think that this year is going to be, like I said, a hardening, a tightening up, a bug squashing, kind of event, as well as the release of the enhanced Siri. So we'll see a little bit more about that later on in the show, and we'll hear more about that. But I think that's really what we're going to see out of WWDC this year.
But
Agree?
we have some local fun, don't we, to talk
We
about?
do. I mean, you guys are really surprising me, and I can't tell you how thankful I am that you guys are chasing after some of the newer stuff that's coming out from Apple. And Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin has recently,
Oh,
In surprise
Fun.
to no one.
yeah, gone and
Well, now wait a minute. We're still within the 14-day return window.
so let's say what he's done. Let's tell everybody what he's done.
he went out
Yeah.
and he grabbed the new M5 Pro MacBook Pro, and it's in the house, isn't it, Larry?
It is, and it's the 16-inch, and it's the M5 Pro.
Right.
So this isn't a review, just some initial thoughts to let everybody know what. There's a couple of things I think are quite interesting about this that are they're worthy of talking about. Let me start out with the only reason that I bought the Pro version of this chip
Okay.
was because for the first time ever, beginning this year, you cannot buy a MacBook Pro 16-inch with the base model M series chip. But heretofore, you could, but not any longer.
Now you do. If you want just a straight M5, you go 14-inch, and that's what you
Yep,
get.
you have to get a 14, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I absolutely have no use case for the Pro. I don't. I'll be honest. I just
Just
don't.
the bigger screen.
But
I
I wanted to get rid of my studio display, and I wanted a 16-inch, use it on a nice, laptop monitor or a stand, call it a desktop. And we'll
Okay.
see how long.
There you go.
And you know what? It took some tweaking to get all the text sizes and get different things set up, but I think it's going to work out fine. But
Awesome.
it's not for everyone because, if you do that kind of a desktop thing, you can't be a multitasker. I'm not. I work with one app only, open, full screen, and I'm happy.
Or you
That just
minimize,
doesn't work.
or you're working with one active app on the screen and you
Right.
minimize to the dock.
Yeah, the others are minimized. But a lot of
Yeah.
people have a big monitor and have all these windows open and 2 and 3 monitors. It's just not me. But
I get that.
one thing about this new chip that is different, they've really focused on device AI performance, and I think they had to
Okay.
to stay up. Apple has put on this chip what they call fusion architecture, and it connects 2 chip dies into a single system chip. So it's a SoC,
Okay.
single system on a chip. Something new for them. But 18 core CPU, 20 core GPU, all in the same die, not side by side chips or anything like that, but all in the same little square thingy.
Yeah.
Unified memory starts with this machine at 24 gigabytes, more than anybody will ever need. But what I found unusual, not unusual, but noteworthy, the
Mhm.
storage, the SSD, this starts at 1 terabyte. You can't get it smaller. Another change from previous years. You could get a 16 with a 512 last year.
And now no more.
Now you have to get a 1 terabyte, but this has got read-write speeds that go up to almost 15 gigabytes. That's double the last generation. And this is absolutely visible with the naked eye. I mean, it's literally, the machine is, if you take away the time it takes to put in your password from the time you hit startup till the time it's sitting there fully loaded, all processes going, is 9.5 seconds.
Wow.
That's fast.
That
That's
is
blazing fast.
That is fast.
And
Especially when
one of the other
the
reasons that I bought this and I wanted to get rid of the Apple Studio display, I've become a huge fan of ProMotion, and an XDR display works for me.
Okay.
So to get those, I had to go with either a $3,600 version of that new monitor. I can't do that, folks. I'm sorry.
When the monitor costs more than the doggone machine, I think there's an issue.
we got a problem. But
Yeah.
but again, the 16.2 liquid retina XDR display is beautiful. And man, the 1,000 nits, I mean, you got to turn it down in
Yeah.
a
Sure.
room environment. You really
Sure.
Yeah.
do. I think if I ever did use it outside on a porch or something, I got a feeling it will absolutely look fine.
Yeah.
The other thing that they've upgraded with this is their center stage camera.
Okay.
It's got a different sensor. It also now supports desk view. Before the center stage would not support desk view. And that's a big deal for creators. You know, if they're
Okay.
doing something like, I mean, maybe not all creators, but if you're doing something, you're trying to show a crowd of people in a meeting how to knit, I don't know, a quilt or something. You can
Sure.
be doing that right on the table in front of your Mac and looking at the screen. It will show both of those very well. I tried that.
Wow.
This one also has the new N1 wireless chip. I don't know if that's a big deal or not. Battery life, a little bit better, 24 hours of constant video streaming, they say. One thing I don't like, the power supply that comes with this is enormous. It wasn't the same with the 14 inch. This is
Sure.
140 watt, weighs about 3.5 pounds. It's unbelievably big and heavy. And it stays warm, even sitting here in what we call the desktop mode, where it keeps it to 80% and it doesn't charge it any higher.
What's the wattage on that little bad boy?
140, he said.
140 watts.
140 watts? Why in the world?
I don't know.
I mean, yeah,
But it
because
stays
honestly,
warm,
you
so
know,
it must need it.
well,
Keep
fast
in mind, though-
charger is usually somewhere in the neighborhood of around 65 watts, and
Well,
that'll.
keep in
Well,
mind, Chris,
the old brick was 90, 95, 96 watt, I think.
Okay.
But this is the same form factor, but larger, the same
Wow.
shape. I mean, I could not travel with it. So I ordered while it was on sale. Anchor has a brand new 160 watt
Mhm.
charger that made just for this thing. And it
Hmm.
was like $99 and it weighs
Huh.
half as much and it's half the size. And it's cold when you turn
And
it
it's
on.
got
See-
more ports too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got 3 USB-C ports that'll,
See.
Yeah.
and it's a 160
my-
watt charger.
Right.
My-
I've
my
got
challenge-
one. Go ahead, Chris.
I apologize. My challenge with the newer, larger Anchor things is they're not batteries and chargers. They're chargers only or batteries.
Yeah,
only.
that's all I wanted,
And,
though.
and
I don't.
I need a hybrid. I need it to do both.
Yep,
And for me, the
you
biggest
do.
one that they make today is only 65 watt, Chris, to
Yeah.
line up with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
So-
use case.
No,
There we go.
absolutely,
It is.
absolutely. I mean,
It
the one
is.
Anchor charger that I've got that I use every day, all the time, every day out loud, is a 65 plus watt charger, fast charger that's got 2 USB-C ports for a phone and 2 USB-C
Nothing to
ports
it.
for a computer.
Mhm.
It is not a battery based charger. It's just an AC charger. But it is absolutely Johnny on the spot with the charging. I mean, it'll go
Yeah.
ahead and take a
Yep.
completely dead iPhone and charge it all the way up to 100 in probably 45 minutes or less.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got the Anchor 733, which is their hybrid.
Yeah.
2 USB-Cs and a USB-A. The USB-Cs are slightly different than each other, but it's great. I mean, it's just very flexible. They replaced it with a model called the Prime. I think it's 9.6K. It's what it's called.
Mhm.
It's basically roughly the same setup,
Right.
but a smaller package. The Anchor does a great job with this stuff, but I wish they'd come up with one with slightly higher wattage.
Sure.
But they haven't
Yeah.
haven't quite got that yet. But
Sure.
we'll see.
That's about all I've got, Chris, on that.
All right, well, that's fine. I know that
Great.
you're in the process of pulling together some
I
level
will.
of
I will.
article for us here on the site.
Awesome.
We'll look to get that up on the site this week, hopefully, and everybody can go ahead and look for
And-
that.
And enjoy it.
And
You know?
hopefully,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, one
Awesome.
thing about it, I think this one's going to have to last me.
a
I'm
lot.
getting to that point where I can't just get a new one like this every year. They're too expensive.
No, I
just can't do
get it. I get it. And you end up taking a loss on the resales. You always
And I
do.
thought this was a good place to jump into that
It is.
machine because
Yeah.
I don't think that this will be out of this will work for 3
This
or
is
4
going to
years,
be.
I
This is
think.
not going to go out of service or become obsolete
No.
for quite a while. I mean, even the
No.
M1 Max that I have is still on the active list,
Yeah.
and I don't see it. I mean, the one that I've got is an M1 Max with I believe it's a 2 terabyte drive with 64 gigabytes of unified memory. I don't see that one getting put
I,
on the obsolete list for at
I,
least another 3 or so years.
It's
I have
just
an
hard
older.
though. When you're a geek like us, you get FOMO so bad.
Oh,
You
you
just
do, you do. But you know what's funny? I have an M1 Air, 1 terabyte drive,
Mm-hmm.
and it still runs really, really well. It's a 5-year-old plus machine, and it runs
It's an
great.
amazing. That
I'm
particular
handing it down soon
processor.
to, yeah.
That
if
particular
you didn't
processor is an
know you
amazing
had
processor.
something better out there, you'd be fine with it, you know.
Right.
Exactly
Right.
right.
And
So there you go,
speaking of
guys.
longevity, kids, we
Oh
got some
yeah.
very, very interesting news this week. Not surprising, somewhat disappointing, but definitely not surprising at all.
No.
Apple has officially killed the Mac Pro, and there's no plans to reintroduce something in the Mac Pro line.
So
So
we're
the
saying
cheese
goodbye to the
grater
cheese
is
grater?
dead. The
Oh,
cheese grater is dead. The king is dead. Long live the king. The Mac Pro, the latest cheese grater Mac Pro came out in 2019, didn't it, Larry?
I think it did.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to find out if there was a real story behind this.
Okay.
So I deviated from the article. As a matter of fact, I didn't even look at it.
Okay.
I glanced at it, but I
Yep.
wanted to go out, and so you guys feel free to chime in with that stuff. But I
Sure.
wanted to go out with a little help from my AI bot friends and
Okay.
find out if there were any underlying
so
stories that corroborated each other, and find out if there was any backstory on this. Because the bottom line, though, Apple just didn't kill the Mac Pro because it failed. But what happened, and I think we lost sight of this over time, and due to a series of events, things happening, the Mac Pro just became, all of a sudden, they woke up and it was unnecessary. That's the only story behind that. If you think back, Apple transitioned to its own silicone back in
Mm-hmm.
2020. And
Mm-hmm.
then the traditional reasons for the Mac Pro back then, they were things like modularity and upgradable GPUs and extreme expansion slots and all the crap that
Absolutely.
thing had.
oh
And
Yeah.
but then they disappeared with M series chips. Everything
yeah.
became integrated into that one chip. So CPU, GPU, memory, all on one chip. So the classic upgrade later when we have more money or need more power, they couldn't do that. Didn't fit Apple's current
So
architecture.
so
So
the current version of the cheese grater came out in 2023.
oh
Right.
wow, I thought it was
And it
earlier.
was
Yeah.
and it was well, the original came out in 2019, but the 2023 version had an M2 Ultra chip in it,
That's
and
it.
it
Right.
really and it wasn't upgradable or swappable the way that the
The
2019
first one
was.
was.
And so
Right.
people complained and didn't like it anyway. And the Mac Studio came out.
Right.
Right. I
And
So
was
see,
going to say that's the
Right.
second thing that I was going to say, that the other problem for the Mac Pro was it was overtaken by the Mac Studio. Smaller, cheaper, faster, new
I
chips.
mean,
see,
if you can't
that I
upgrade it,
think is
but
the key right there. I mean, the Mac Pro, even with the M2 Ultra chip, had a base price of around $7,000. All right,
And
and
you
the
were
price just
buying,
went up at that point.
right, you were buying a machine that was redundant, basically.
and it wasn't modular. So what was the
Yeah.
No.
point of the device
Right.
anymore?
And
Right. I
people
mean, you
stopped
could.
paying that money for it. So I think that was also the one
I
of the
mean, yeah.
things.
I
If you
mean,
don't buy
it
something,
still had
Apple's going to quit
slots.
making it. That's
It still had
simple.
slots. You could go ahead and add things to it, right? But I think the most likely thing to add, quote unquote, add to it would be a third party graphics card. And with the
But you
M2
couldn't do
Ultra
that.
No.
chip that was in it, you didn't need it. You didn't. I mean,
No,
it
it
had.
wasn't that you didn't need it. You cannot use a third party graphics
Yeah, you
card with the
can't. What
M2.
you would probably the most common thing in the last version was fiber channel. Putting fiber
Yeah.
channel
Right.
for
Yeah.
disk
That was the
storage.
most. I agree.
You know,
That was the
what
most common use.
in
Mhm.
closing, I think I summed it up anyway in short by just saying I don't think Apple killed the Mac Pro. They simply
No.
made it obsolete by their own progress. Simple.
by their
I
own
said
products
no.
because
I would agree.
the Mac Studio, I mean, you can stick an M3 Ultra chip in that.
Oh, wow.
All right. With a 32 core CPU and an 80 core GPU, pair that with 256 gigabytes of unified memory and 16 terabytes of SSD storage, and you're still cheaper than the base
What
Mac Pro with an M2 Ultra chip.
what do you do with a machine like that?
But
Somebody tell me,
but
please.
Oh,
they kept
Pixar.
they kept the pricing high like that because honestly, I think they wanted people to walk away from it. You know, it was sort of a
Yeah.
deterrent. You know,
And that's
Well, they
you're
walked. They
probably right
quit
there, but
buying it.
you're probably right there. But I think it was mostly probably the Mac Pro and the Mac Studio are really, I mean, things that you could go ahead and actually render, I think, in fairly, I don't want to say real time, but you could probably render and have pretty good performance a full-blown Pixar movie. All right.
yeah.
Not really get any drop frames or too many drop frames.
But
You'd have acceptable performance on the render and still have some power to spare with
yeah,
the M3 Ultra.
but Joel said, Fiber Channel is mostly about storage
Yeah.
and high speed
You know,
communication. So
Yeah.
Yeah, for
that'd be the thing.
editors. Yeah, and the only option now is that you get a Thunderbolt 5 to Fiber Channel card, which
Yeah.
does exist, and connect it to your Mac Studio that way.
Right.
And that's really was the only
Yeah.
reason
Right.
for a Mac Pro.
So-
Right.
And
well, I have two friends who own two different graphic design businesses, and they both have like two server studios, Mac studios, and that's all they use anymore in
Right.
the
Yeah,
office.
yeah.
So what's
yeah,
interesting about this development now, all right, is with this particular development, Apple has reduced their lineup to 6 base machines.
Yeah.
All right.
Mac.
They've
Yeah.
got the 24-inch iMac with an M4 chip. They've got the Mac Mini with an M4 and an M4 Pro, and they have the Mac Studio with a M4 Max and M3 Ultra. On the laptops, on the notebook side, they've got the MacBook Neo, the MacBook Air, and the MacBook Pro. All right, and you've
That's
got
it.
different flavors of
And
those
you got
and
the
different
Mac Mini, too.
configurations. But that's it.
The Mac
yeah. He
Mini.
mentioned those.
Yeah.
But that's it. I mean, they've got six machines now, and that's all. And I think that this is a pretty strong lineup. Wouldn't you guys agree?
But it also
Yeah,
cuts down on their production cost enormously.
Mm-hmm.
It lets
Yeah.
them make more profit margin, and they're
Right. And even though we're not covering this story today,
Yeah.
I mean, as part of the thing, I mean, with the basic, with basically just 6 machines overall, it may be, and I'm speculating. All right, it may. Apple is supposed to. I think Tim sat down with President Trump, and they had a long talk about onshoring more PC-based manufacturing here in the States.
Yeah.
And I think with 6 machines, all right, and Apple committing to invest a number of different Sagans, billions and billions of dollars into onshore-based manufacturing, they have a better chance with the lineup that they've got now as opposed to with the more
I
diverse lineup.
disagree, and I'll tell you why. Because
Why?
before they released the Neo, they only had 6 machines. Then they added the Neo, took away
The Pro.
Mac Pro. So basically, they're the same number of machines they were at a year ago.
Well, they perhaps in terms, yeah, but if you look at the structure of those machines, all right,
Well, they're all different.
You've got except for the iMac, which is an all-in-one. You've got the Mini and the Studio,
Yeah.
which are a similar form factor, and then you've got the Neo, the Air, and the MacBook Pro. In terms of notebooks, I don't think you're going to see any of those. What I do think you're going to see is more of the desktops. I think it would be easier to implement that level of manufacturing here in the States as opposed to the notebooks, but that's just me.
That's possible.
It's interesting. It's interesting what they've done and what they've got left, and hopefully they'll do something. They'll be consistent with this offering and they'll improve as things move forward. Speaking of doing and
moving
moving forward,
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, and I thought this was kind of interesting, Apple has recently made a new hire. They've hired a Google VP to lead their AI marketing group. And I think this is all wrapped around the release of the new Siri in the 27s. They've hired former Google VP Lillian Rincon as the new vice president of product marketing for AI. And they say that Rincon will go ahead and lead that product marketing group and product management for all of its AI platforms, including Apple Intelligence and Siri, which we're supposed to get a major update later this calendar year specifically. So she's got some work to do. All right, she will report directly to Jaws, Greg Josmiak, Apple Senior Vice President of Worldwide Marketing. So interesting development, don't you guys think?
I think
Well,
it's a smart move.
she came from product management, product marketing at Google. So,
And
you
she
know.
spent 9 years there, from what I understand.
But he
So
has to know AI better than some of the people in Apple know it right now.
I think I think she'll have a better handle on how to directly position Apple Intelligence and Siri moving forward, what it will do, what it will not do. All right,
Right.
what it's going to tackle, what it's not going to tackle, and I'm hoping that this particular hire will go ahead and sort of herd the cats into a unified direction, right? Maybe not corral
We'll
them, but
see.
get them all moving in one direction. And I'm hoping.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen highlights of her work at Google, so I don't know what products, if all the products, or what she was actually kind of focused on when she was at Google. So it's going to be interesting to see. She might be coming with almost no AI background, or she might be coming with a really strong AI background. Could be either way. We don't really know. But
Well,
in any case, they needed to do something, and this is something. So,
well, this is a very second strong hire out of Google that Apple has made in recent months. Um, they recently pulled in Amar, and I'm going to butcher this last name, so apologies, Amar. Subramanya, who came on to Apple in December. Now he's going to serve as the company's VP of AI specifically. So he's got the marketing, and then you've got the actual engineering. And Amar's going to go ahead and report directly to the hair. All right, to Craig Federighi. So hopefully, with him doing engineering at VP, being the engineering VP at Google for working directly on Gemini for like 16 or so years, he'll have the right stuff.
Right.
So
that's certainly the hope, right? So
that
we'll
is the
see.
hope, And Apple's done a lot to completely restructure all of the AI team, marketing,
They have,
engineering, in
but
order to get a better handle on
yeah.
what's going to happen. AI over at Apple has been such a
Well,
freaking
what's interesting, and I do want to add this as sort of an afterthought to all of this, is that
Mm-hmm.
you're starting to see in the press an awful lot of kickback of people going, I would almost rather Apple did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of press starting to say that. They kind of want Apple not to go down this AI path. So it's going to be interesting. We've said it before, kids. We'll say it again.
Well,
this year is going to be interesting.
It is. It is going to be interesting. They have to do something. Their products
they
cannot be
do.
without AI. All right. They'll shoot themselves in the foot with a bazooka. All right. They've got to do something. But I certainly understand the point behind, gosh, maybe they should just go and buy it. Do nothing themselves, but just go and buy it.
But that's not what
integrate it.
people are saying. People are saying they don't want it at all because they've seen the train wreck that is Microsoft and AI, and they don't want that. So I think there's a lot of people that just kind of, there's going to be, it's interesting. There's going to be pushback either way. Let's be honest.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
I do. But I see the value in AI, and I think that those same naysayers who are saying I don't want that haven't seen you or AI do something really good for them.
Right.
So
and that's a valid reason to say I don't want it. I mean, it
it
really
is.
is.
So I know it is, but I don't know.
But we'll see again, we'll have to see what they present. We'll have to see what they come forward with. Because if it's as big a mess as what Microsoft has done, they can keep it as far as we're all concerned.
No, there's no doubt.
Dude, honestly, I truly believe my 8-year-old grandson Andrew could do a better job of putting something together than what's coming out of Microsoft.
I think he could give you a crayon drawing on the wall, and it would be better than
this
what
is
we got
exactly
coming
what I'm
out right
saying.
now.
This is exactly what I'm saying. All right.
And I think that was
for
the
the
Copilot
Gong
logo.
Show.
By the way, I think that's what the Copilot logo came from somebody's grandkids drawing on a wall. But that's
You may be right. You may be
whole
right.
nother conversation.
Yeah. And speaking of AI, you know what I'm going to go ahead and do?
What are you going to do?
The AI
We're
segment.
going to move us to our AI segment.
Whoa.
Oh, good for us.
Yes.
All right. Our new AI segment. We've only got
Consider myself moved.
Thank you.
Yes.
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 I'm going to leave that one alone.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you. It's interesting. It's interesting. This next development and this next story is kind of interesting. OpenAI, right, has basically put the kibosh on Sora, but in a specific area, and they did that this month, haven't they, Chris?
Well, of course, but Sora is their AI generated video tool for people that didn't know that.
Sure.
And basically, they're shutting it down. They're not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
But also kind of tied to that, which I find interesting part of the story is it's not just Sora. They're also going to get rid of this erotic mode in ChatGPT.
Oh, thank God, because honestly, first of all, deep fakes are getting really harder and harder to debunk, number one, because some of the AIs that are being used to create them are very sophisticated. We don't need anyone else having any kind of tool that would give them the ability to create adult-related content on, using somebody else's likeness.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need that.
We've already seen it go really badly on X.
Yes.
And we're seeing lots of lawsuits and all that. We'll see where that ends up. But right now, it's not going well over there for that stuff.
Well, yeah.
But it's very popular over there. It's very popular.
Spicy GPT is always popular. Honest to goodness.
Let's be honest. Yeah. So, we don't need it in another place. We don't really need it at all. But people... here we go.
No, we don't.
But what's interesting, they just said in December that the OpenAI people said in December, we're going to treat everybody like adults. We're going to do more. We're going to allow this to go more and more. And now they're saying no. Okay, whatever.
And thank you, whoever made that decision over there. God bless
decision.
you, because the last thing that the world needs is the ability to create adult related content with somebody that fake adult content, that is going to be used in a hostile or revenge related possibility. We don't need that, and it would hit that. It would do it.
Yep.
All right. And
I think another reason too that they might have discontinued Sora is because I don't know how many of these AI generated trailers for sequels to movies that
they're everywhere,
are probably not gonna happen, or sequel to TV series that are not gonna happen, like for example a Knight Rider one. As much as I think a Knight Rider update would be great, it's not gonna happen.
Well, no. And how many different fan based quote unquote movie trailers that are that you get the impression, at least looking at, because they've got the current year, so this year being 2026, you've got somebody going ahead and doing a Knight Rider, or maybe even a Captain America 12, if you will,
Star Trek Legacy, which is supposed to be based on 709, which at one point Terry Matalas was going to do, but Paramount hasn't greenlit anything yet.
No. But there are, God knows how many different trailers out there with Jerry Ryan
Captain
doing
7.
all of that, doing all of the things,
Right.
So.
Well, keep in mind too, there's another piece to all this that really isn't talked about in this particular story. And that's that OpenAI has made statements that they're moving away from the consumer space quite a bit, that they're going to focus on the business space more.
True.
So this isn't even going to be their place to work anyway. So
which is interesting.
I don't think they're dropping it. I don't think that's what they've said. I think they're just sort of.
I hope they don't.
Movement away. But they've been saying they're going to make a movement away from it. They've kind of made these comments in the last couple of weeks about kind of doing this pivot away from it and focusing more on enterprise productivity versus agentic stuff as opposed to consumer stuff.
Right.
So I get it.
So we'll see what happens. But,
yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. And speaking of a number of different chat bots and how companies are going to move forward with that from a consumer perspective, I understand that Apple is going to allow consumers to use more than one or multiple or choose from multiple different AI chatbots to integrate with Siri. Isn't that right, Larry?
Very true. And I actually, in caveat, think this is a smart move. Apple's now going to allow Siri to be non-monogamous and sleep with multiple AI bots, basically. So it's taking a more taking a more flexible approach to AI that it has in the past. So rather than, if you think about this, rather than relying entirely on their own in-house AI models or just one, Apple is positioning Siri as think of it as a gateway that they can route requests to the most capable AI bot for whatever the task is that's being queried. So if you ask it something and it's better handled by Gemini, that's where it goes. If it's better handled by Claude in programming, that's where it goes. But I think more than anything, key here is this shift will allow users to benefit from all these different specialized AI responses without ever leaving the Siri interface. Apple is very smart at doing that.
I think that is
it allows people to now they can maintain control over the privacy of that user, the experience that user has, the system integration with their own devices, and they still leverage all the advancements of all the top AI models.
Right.
How smart is that? I mean,
that is absolutely awesome, and especially if those apps, on an iPhone, you only get apps through the App Store, unless of course you are in Europe and you use their side loading process in Europe. But generally speaking, if you install the app from the App Store, that AI app, like the OpenAI app
and only someone like Apple could pull this off. I mean, if Samsung wanted to do it, they could do it. They could not do it. No way.
Well, but the interesting thing is you install those apps on the device, and then Siri's going to be able to go ahead and throw some level of light query out to all of them, figure out which one's going to provide the best answer, and then throw the whole thing out to that one particular app, and then get.
I think it'll already know. It won't have to do a query in advance.
Well,
I think it'll already know.
Good, but the point is, it's going to know. It's going to know.
We know now almost.
Yeah.
Don't we?
Well, this sounds exciting, but God, it's rumor. This is still only rumor. We don't know for sure what this is going to mean. We're speculating about what it means, but we don't really know yet. And it may mean nothing. It may just mean, you can select it at the beginning of your session and pick which one you want to use. It may just mean that.
Perhaps
until we see it. Well, it's all, and that's the point, Chris. It's all perhaps. We don't know what it's going to be yet.
Sure. But iPhone users should be able to select which services they actually want to use.
I think
inside Siri through what they're calling extensions, right? So
I think at minimum, but I don't think this notion of will it automatically select the best one? Well, how is it going to know what's going to be the best one?
This is why
we know some of that already. I mean, if you spend a lot of time in all the different models, you know that if you want a graphic built for you, go to Gemini. If you want programming.
Yes and no, Larry. What I know today is in version X of Gemini, it's best at these things. But in the next version, it might not be. And the point I'm getting at is how are they going to decide what that's going to be? And
somebody's going to have to do it. Yeah.
But the point is, if they're going to do that, then you're going to have all these arguments about, well, wait a minute, why are you routing that traffic over here? That's not fair. You're going to get all this lawsuits and things. So I don't think I wouldn't assume we're going down that path just yet. Don't assume that yet. I don't think. We'll see.
We'll see.
We will.
Maybe it makes sense. I mean,
maybe what it would do is give you some summary choices and say, here's the things I'm finding. Which one do you want to pursue, or something like that? When you ask a question, it may do something like that, where you make the decision of what you want to see. Yeah.
Based on on the AI apps that you have installed, you may
but it's all speculation.
Yeah.
Right now it's all speculation. We don't know what they're going to do with it yet.
True.
Yeah. But I'm anxious to see it nonetheless. I'm anxious to see what they're going to do.
And so, this is part of the excitement that we see with this information coming or this capability supposedly coming again this calendar year, and we're assuming, based on the fact that it didn't hit in 26.4, and it doesn't seem to be so far in any of the betas for 26.5, because those actually haven't hit yet.
Right. Maybe this week, maybe.
Maybe for those, but I think what we're going to see in the long run is something happening.
One thing I will bet money on, that whatever it is, it will work. Apple has got themselves in this box. They have got to get out and do it with class. They've got to do it.
If they don't, they may as well just cash it in and just be done.
Whatever they do, they better make a very clear announcement about what it is and what it's going to do and not going to do. And like Larry said,
fail. Don't fail.
But whatever they announce, it's got to do whatever they announce.
Exactly.
I mean, they can make it be whatever they want. But not fail.
Yes.
Correct.
Agreed. And that, kids, is our AI segment for this week. And I'm going to move us now to our mobile segment. And unfortunately, man, this is some interesting things happened this
heartbreaking
week.
News, really.
Yeah. OnePlus, the maker of the OnePlus Open, and here in the States, and one of the, I think, better foldables available in the States, has made a decision to exit
because
world markets, hasn't it, Joel?
Yes, it has, because China. Because it's made in China mostly. And with our government, being kind of anti-China nowadays, it seems like OnePlus is just going to give up.
Well, it's not just in China. It's not just here in the States, though. It's not just here in the States. They're exiting markets in Europe as well.
Yes, correct. So and going only China. So which that's what
was it ever established? Were they ever profitable, really profitable, or did they just?
Well, they were because they were part. They weren't by themselves. Remember, they were part of oh, my brain stopped, Chris. The company they're part of that they released their Chinese products have a different brand. I can't remember, but they're part of another Oppo.
Oppo, yes, Oppo, yes.
They're part of Oppo. So what's interesting is they were not just in North America and Europe; they were also in India. They were a big player in India. Are they continuing in India? Is India another market they pulled out of, or are they staying in India?
Yeah, the head of the India division, what's his
Robin Liu.
Robin Liu is quitting and going back to China.
Oh, well, because that was a big market for them outside of China. That was probably their biggest market outside of China. That's very sad.
He's stepping down, moving back to China, along with "quote unquote" ongoing restructuring of the company's business in global markets.
Yeah, and OnePlus, I think one of the things that kind of hurt them is there was never a carrier deal in the United States. With hardly any. If there was any,
there wasn't. There really wasn't.
No,
it wasn't one I was aware of.
I don't think they had much for carrier deals in Europe either. But carrier deals are not as big a deal in Europe.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
No, they're not because the carriers aren't as dickish.
Well, if you think back to the early days, it was only one or two carriers that would even carry Google when they came out with their phones.
True. Yeah. Very true.
True.
Very, very true. Well, it is. But remember when Apple came out with the iPhone, it was only AT&T carried it.
Yeah, that first year or two was really just only AT&T.
So this is a thing.
Right. Yep. And most people were saying, hey, when Verizon gets the iPhone, and I'm like, nah, the Verizon's never going to get the iPhone
They're never
because
going to
they're
do
on a
it. Yeah.
completely different, they're on a completely different radio, a completely
At the
different.
time.
So at the
Right.
time, they're on a completely different cellular radio. CDMA is not where they want to go. And damn it, if they didn't come out with a CDMA based
They
iPhone.
did.
They did.
I tell you what, I remember that with much displeasure. I left Verizon to get that damn phone.
Yeah.
Went to AT&T. My wife and I are driving down the road on a vacation trip. Everywhere she had service, I had no service ever until I got into a town somewhere.
It's like
then I could use my new iPhone.
Well, it's just like back in the day when
T-Mobile was like that.
Well, I was going to say
T-Mobile was, yeah.
Judy over at Gear Diary. She gave me the G1.
Yeah.
And at that time, it would only work on T-Mobile, so I had to switch my line over to T-Mobile, which only lasted as long as I could put up with the G1, which
if you were on an interstate with T-Mobile, you were fine.
Right.
You were dead.
Honestly, it was very, very regional, even within major urban areas.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. If you were along a interstate corridor, you were absolutely fabulous. You had signal no matter where you went, as long as you were on a major interstate. Get off the unit. You could be a half a mile.
You could get off to eat and lose signal. Literally, literally.
Yeah. So.
But
so long OnePlus. So long OnePlus. We really enjoyed having you around. Enjoyed the OnePlus Open. It's still a very, very good device, and still will work.
Yes,
it's probably done as far as updates are concerned, or any OnePlus device is probably done as far as updates are concerned.
Certainly, any Western updates are done in any case. Yeah,
it's too bad.
That's unfortunate.
It's a great device. It really, really is.
I agree.
It got Android 16, and I think that's going to be as far as it goes.
Probably.
So, but it's in terms of devices disappearing. We got another really interesting update this week from the FCC. They updated their ban on foreign-made routers, and this time it includes consumer models. What's up with that, Joel?
Yeah, well, they're going to ban consumer models, and basically any model that's currently approved for sale in the United States will be able to be sold for a little while longer, as well as have software updates for a little while longer. But no new models will be approved if they're not being made here, which that's everybody.
Which
a lot of these things were made in Taiwan. Like TP-Link makes a lot of their stuff in Taiwan.
Yeah,
well,
they do.
There's this whole concern about foreign-made stuff. I get it. I mean, I understand it. I understand the concern. Whether I agree with it or not, I understand the concern.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but the thing is, making it here is not going to fix that concern
or make it better.
Well, the problem is at most, I think what you're going to see here in the States. What I think you're going to see here in the States more than anything else is assembly rather than quote unquote manufacturing.
But that's my point. That changes nothing about the concerns that were raised.
Because the chip dies are created and
the software is programmed, with the source company.
Yes,
it's not programmed here.
Right. Those chips will be shipped over to the U.S. and then everything is quote unquote assembled. And that assembly is not manufacturing.
Assembly is not manufacturing. It doesn't fix the problem they're trying to address, or that they think they're trying to address.
One bit.
Right.
So,
and that I find that very frustrating, and I find it very, very aggravating. Because at this point, anything that's currently available, just like what happened with DJI, anything that's currently available and already shipped to the U.S., they can sell. Companies can sell. Retailers can sell. After that, though, no new models, new updates, new stuff. You won't see it. It's got to be manufactured or assembled here in the U.S. for it to actually be sold here. And I think we're gonna have some really big problems, especially on the consumer side.
Yep. Company and now hopefully these companies are going to fight it. And TP-Link is going to do that, but it says companies can either attempt to get conditional approval or stop selling their devices in America.
Well,
like
the other
DJI
thing I
did with the drones.
Right.
Well, the other thing I read that's interesting about this particular issue with the routers is that it doesn't affect existing business routers, and it doesn't affect the stuff that the government's buying.
Right.
So those are still not going to fix. They're not going to even try to fix the problem there. So
true,
what the heck is that about?
This may be the current elephant in the room, but it could move on to other industries, other manufacturing areas.
It could.
What are we going to do then if we're limited to only things built here?
Yep. Well, I think what's going to happen is I think you're going to see a huge technology disparity between what's going on in the United States versus what's going on in the rest of the world.
I see it now.
Yeah, I mean, we are way behind. We are way behind in terms of technology implementations. And I really think that we're going to find that.
Well, part of that's because we didn't have a need to keep up because we were always buying it from over there.
Well, that and the fact that most companies move their manufacturing over to Asia because the workforce there is, willing to go ahead and work for 12 cents an hour.
Yep, it's cheaper.
And they're overjoyed
also,
to have
but it's not necessarily the money, I don't think. It's also the work ethic. When you look at a movie of how iPhones are made in China, that'll never happen in this United States as much as I love my country.
It can't.
No way will that discipline ever happen.
Well,
we're going to really be screwed if they do that with phones.
Well, the problem that we're going to have from a manufacturing related perspective is that there are labor laws here in the States that were constructed back in the Industrial Revolution at the turn of the 20th century that were put in place specifically to prohibit the kind of things that are going on in Asia right now. All right. There's no way in the world that people would work, and I'm exaggerating here because they're making more than 12 cents an hour, but there's no way that people would work, for 12 cents an hour. All right. Or really, really reduced wages, especially when, you've got people protesting in front of a McDonald's saying, I want $20. I want a livable wage. I got to have at least $20 an hour in order to be able to pay my bills, those folks saying, I got to have it. And everybody else saying, dude, you were never meant to pay bills or be the sole breadwinner at McDonald's.
Right.
All right. End of story.
Yeah, but when other jobs go away, what are you going to do?
Right.
That's what people have done.
Right. And that's exactly what has happened is those jobs have gone away. All right.
Service industry jobs is what we have left. And that's what's growing.
Right. And being realistic,
it's all being replaced with kiosks. It's all being replaced with kiosks or self-checkouts or whatever you want. I mean, there are no more grocery checkouts.
But there are a lot of jobs for people to fix those things. So hey, there you go.
But ultimately, though, this is going to probably result in less security, to be honest, because people aren't going to be able to update the routers they have. They're just going to have to continue to use them.
Right, it's because they can't afford to go out and buy something else because it's not available, and the stuff that will be available is going to be ungodly expensive.
Yep. I mean, because the government has no idea. It's unrealistic to assume that companies are just going to start.
Idea.
Right. Yeah. but it's unrealistic that they can bring manufacturing for routers into the country because the knowledge is not here.
No, it's not.
No. Once again, it's non-technical people making technical decisions when they don't understand the technology.
They don't understand not just the technology, but they don't understand the process that's involved in actually manufacturing or engineering that technology. And that's very
problem. True.
Right.
All right.
That's absolutely true.
That's the freaking problem. And honest to God, with the big AI push, you would think that somebody somewhere would in Washington or pick a jurisdiction, pick a constituency would say, hey, everybody over in Washington doesn't have a freaking clue. I do. Elect me, and I will go and be the voice of reason and understanding in Washington. And you would think that you would have more folks that would go and say, with that kind of background, with that level of intelligence, that would convince a major party to go ahead and back them. But again,
I don't know. Again,
the hell do I know?
The skill set that makes them successful in politics does not make them successful in other areas. End of story.
No.
And that's true.
And that's always going to be a problem.
Right.
Ultimately, too, routers are but a piece of the story.
It is.
The router itself doesn't have to have a compromise. The computers that use the router do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And
well, routers do have compromises. Sometimes that's happened.
They do.
It has.
But you're right. It doesn't have to be the router. And by the way, the other piece of this, I don't remember if this story mentioned it, but computers can act as routers, kids. Your phone can act as a router.
Yes.
So
it can.
What are you going to do? Ban those now? I mean, what is this thing?
Yeah, where does it end?
Right.
Yeah, this
will be
absolutely.
Joel said it just a few moments ago. We'll be absolutely screwed if they apply this same kind of thing to smartphones.
Yep.
Yeah,
oh my God.
You will never see another new smartphone hit the States again.
Well, I saw somebody make a comment. I think it was in the comments for this particular story. They were talking about the fact that they went over to the local micro center. There's like nothing on the shelves in the router section right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's already they said that's happened. Now, I don't know if that's just a one-off on theirs. I saw mine a few weeks ago and they were fine, but
right.
I
was just to Best Buy and they still had routers right after this announcement.
Yeah, I was debating
surprised.
replacing mine, and I'm thinking I better do it soon if I'm going to do it. You know, this is sort of my thinking.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. And you know what I'm going to do now, kids? You know what I'm going to do now?
What are you going to do?
I'm going to move us to our Windows and Linux segment. Yeah. But I'm going to do that right after this brief message.
Yeah.
Hi. This is Christopher Spera from iTechGear.org. I wanted to talk with you today about becoming a contributing donor to the site. iTechGear.org has been around for almost 15 years. In fact, our anniversary is just around the corner on January 10th, 2025. 15 years. Where has the time gone? I mean, I've never really asked for any kind of donations for the site. It's always been about me providing value to you, a site visitor or podcast listener. The iTechGear Weekly is now in its 4th year of production, and Chris G., Joel, and Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin and I are having a really great time providing you with some of the best free tech talk available from time-tested original internet writers, testers, site founders, and professional writers and editors on the internet. I truly believe that our crew has some of the best and most qualified pundits and commentators on the internet today. And we're not hobbled by any kind of sponsorship or affiliated relationship or other time-bought posts. It all comes from the heart. Unfortunately, times are kind of tough. And since the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020 to 2023, yes, almost 3 full years, times have become increasingly difficult for small independent sites like iTechGear.org to stay afloat. You know, I normally do this with a portion of the salary I make from the day job, but with the IT market so tight right now, it's really difficult sometimes for many to make normal household ends meet, let alone fund a site like iTechGear that might decide to bring in a buck or two. You know, it ain't easy. If you find any of our content on iTechGear or from ITGW to be of any value at all, I would seriously appreciate you donating as little as just $1 to the cause. While we do have a Patreon site, it's hard to keep one website up, let alone 2. And since it's really only me doing the work, our Patreon site hasn't really helped us at all. If you can make a donation to the site or to the show of any amount, I'd be forever grateful. All donations will go to site maintenance, hosting, podcast hosting, and everything iTechGear related. Donations can be made to my PayPal account at chris@itechgear.org. Make a donation. we'll thank you immediately on the next ITGW episode and voice our gratitude. I want to thank you. We appreciate your consideration, time, and attention. Now let's get back to the latest iTechGear Weekly episode. And welcome back to the iTechGear Weekly episode number 166. So long, MacPro. We barely knew ye. Yeah, you know, we're not doing a real mistake-a-thon this weekend, kids, but I mean, honest to God, some of this stuff is just, you can't make this crap up.
No.
Honestly, but they are continuing the mistake.
But they are continuing to screw this up. Microsoft is really doing a really, really, really good job. I swear we're going to have a Linux story some point, you know, in an episode. But this is just
screw shit up.
You know, but honestly, Microsoft's got to stop screwing things up so you know, horribly for me to find something that says, hey, let's go to a Linux story as opposed to something from Windows, because this is just nuts. I had heard earlier this week that Patch Tuesday is absolutely, positively, without a doubt, killing Windows Update. And you know what? Based upon everything that we've seen and everything that we've done in terms of reporting on what's going on with Microsoft, this is a no-brainer. Of course, big changes keep on landing in Windows Update every month, but no matter what they do, somehow manages to screw the update up, and they're constantly having to roll things back or cut the update from being available, or having to implement some sort of a workaround. Or, I mean, honest to God, Patch Tuesdays.
Let me put this in perspective for you.
Go ahead, Larry.
Just last week, I went to one of the organizations I support, rolled back 9 Windows 11 machines, and locked them down for no more updates. I'll figure out what I'm going to do later, but for right now, I'm not going to field any more calls. But you come look at my computer, it just updated. I can't do this and I can't do that. I'm over it.
Well, you know, it's interesting. It's interesting, you know, and I'm going to go back, step into the Wayback Machine with me. Will you, Sherman? Come on. All right. We're going to go back, I think, maybe 5 to 7 years. Windows 11 updates weren't exactly what I would consider, quote unquote, show worthy, but we didn't have the level of ineptitude that we currently see coming out of Microsoft with their updates right now. They were boring. You didn't necessarily have the big feature updates, but at the same time, you didn't see the big screw ups where they're going, oh my God.
They tested them back then.
Well, somebody was testing them. It wasn't Microsoft. They relied more on their insiders to go ahead and bring up you know, level 1 or high level or show stopping defects. But it even seems nowadays that they aren't even doing that. These things are you know, they get out of a specific channel.
They're all over at the Copilot building working, and they don't have time to work on what fixes this.
You know, and they're rolling this stuff out, but oh my God. I mean, it is an absolute mess. And it's getting to the point now where they've given everyone the ability to, like you said, Larry, to completely turn off any kind of, I mean, you used to be able to pause it for a period of maybe a month or so, right? Maybe 4 to 6 weeks top. And then it, you know, went ahead and it kept track of the date you press pause and then unpaused it automatically.
Now, to be fair, the enterprise side has had the ability to sort of,
they had the tools that I don't have.
They had the tools to go ahead and do that.
Right, but on the consumer side, we never had that choice.
No, you got what you got, and that was going to be it.
Small businesses don't either. They can't afford that.
No, correct. And the challenge is going to be, again, I've said this before, I don't think Microsoft is focusing on this because it's less than 10% of their business now. So I don't think they're focusing on it, but they should, because it's a feeder business. And it feeds into their O365 services, and it feeds into their other services, but they don't seem to be thinking that way.
It feeds into their Azure services. It feeds into their SQL services. It feeds into their Windows Server services. All right. the desktop is what runs runs the individual Excel endpoints that actually
Right.
drive folks to go ahead and say, give me a Microsoft system. I want to be able and stay in that ecosystem, and I want to be able to run these apps
And
and
Right.
do these kinds of things. And they're screwing things up so badly that I mean, they've given consumers now the ability to permanently pause updates.
Yep.
sad that it's come to this.
Which
It really is.
which is absolutely, positively, and without a doubt, at least for somebody that's been in, and Larry, for you and I who've been in the Microsoft support businesses for so long, I mean, you would never have seen them do this
You know what this is
20,
akin
30
to?
years
This
ago.
this is almost like Microsoft is saying, we know we have broken something, so here's the switch to turn it off, so we can't break it anymore. Why don't we figure out how to fix what we broke?
While we
What we
ignore
broke.
you and your problems and go work on where the real
All
money.
right, or even worse, yeah.
Yeah. So,
and we're not making light of it. I mean, we are, but it's true. What Chris says is so true.
the problem is it is absolutely crippling business. It is preventing businesses from being able to do work. And how in the world are they supposed to get from Monday to Tuesday, all right, or complete those corporate initiatives, strategy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, with when you can't run the apps that you need to do whatever it is that you need to do in order to make the business run.
I mean, but when you look at little businesses like dentists and doctors and little lawyer shops and stuff like, how do they get by? I mean, Hallmark card stores or something? I mean,
At this point, I would tell you, the Mac Neo is a really cool
because
computer.
everything is run off that computer. If you go in there to buy something, now their point of sale is broken, and they go, "I'm sorry, we're closed." They're losing money.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it at all. And honestly, if Microsoft needs to seriously get their shit together. Pardon me for being so freaking blunt, but they need to seriously get their shit together. They need to start testing software again. They need to get back into the whole SDL. They need to concentrate on the SDLC stuff. They need to go back to the basics. They're so far away from it now at this point that if I were a IT director or a CTO for either a startup or for some kind of a smaller business that was looking at, what can I do to make certain that my business can still run tomorrow?
I know exactly what I would do.
I'd get off Windows is what I would do.
I would put every bit of my web stuff would be on Linux, and I would blow the money and put every person on a Mac.
There's plenty of stories out there right now. People are abandoning Windows in larger numbers than ever. So there's a lot of people, a lot of stories about it. Don't know how much exaggeration there is or not at this point.
Right.
But the fact that people are talking about it is a thing.
It shows it's happening. They wouldn't be talking about it.
Yeah, they wouldn't be talking about it. So
absolutely. And furthermore, to go and further support this, Microsoft is stopping the rollout of the latest Windows 11 feature update on top of all of this. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, it is no longer available for download as they investigate a specific error that happens during installation. All right. Folks are winding up with a really weird, one of those weird offset errors again. This is 0x800773712, which doesn't mean anything to anybody. All right. But that's the error message that you're getting for this particular latest feature update. And apparently there's a critical bug that was discovered, and it was bad enough that they had to stop the rollout. And again, Microsoft, why the hell aren't you testing this stuff? Why is it getting past your internal QA team? How? Why?
And all of this while they're telling us, we're going to roll back some of this stuff. We're going to clean up some of this stuff. We're going to fix some of this stuff. Okay. When?
Right. Well, unfortunately, they're not saying, and they're specifically not saying, they will not say when this particular new feature update is going to be available for download again. All right. Traditionally, changes in non-security updates happen for users, and it's a mandatory a Patch Tuesday update.
Right.
So Microsoft has, over 2 weeks to fix it ahead of the April 26th Patch Tuesday release. And apparently, they can't. I mean, they can't do it. They can't pull it together. Which again, really sort of makes me wonder what the hell is going on with their SDLC process that is preventing them from doing this basic. This is basic stuff, kids. This is software quality assurance 101.
All I want to know, Chris, is where is their Snow Leopard release?
Thank you.
I just want to know. Where is our Snow Leopard release?
They don't have
11?
One. They haven't had
one. When
years.
you get that little red dot on your iPhone or your iPad or your Mac that says update available, you click it and you know that it's going to work every single time.
Absolutely.
In the last 10 years, before that maybe a little bit, but in the last 10 years, I can think of one, maybe 2 times that hasn't worked. And we're talking an update a month. That's a lot of updates.
Oh, that's a lot of updates.
And they're all breaking stuff.
And they've got to then come out and stop the rollout, halt the rollout, go ahead and figure out what the heck has happened, issue some level of fix for those people that are now limping along or not able to boot into their machines at all.
Yeah, God.
The average update for one iPhone on a point upgrade is over 600,000 lines of code.
Yep.
How do you not screw that up? I mean, you would think you have to make a mistake. A lot of QA.
Look, all I'm going to say is this: software, and I've heard this being said, many, many years ago, and I keep on saying this over and over again myself. Software is never released; it escapes. All right, it gets out there, and it largely gets out there because somebody somewhere in the decision making tree, we've got to get this out. People are clamoring for it. Let it go. We'll fix shit later. All right.
They do.
And that's exactly what happens. And it's that mindset and mentality that has caused a lot of these problems. They don't. And I know, look, there's always going to be bugs. There's always going to be bugs. But the larger use cases, the larger scenarios, user-based scenarios, somehow, somewhere, we're just not doing the appropriate level of testing, because if we were, we would find that problem.
But Chris, these are more than bugs. Bugs are little annoying things that do something.
These are major defects, right? No, you're right.
I mean, this thing eats your up. I mean, it just breaks your system. That's more than a bug.
Absolutely. This is a level. This is a level
Critical
1 showstopper. This is a showstopper. And how is it that every freaking month Microsoft lets a showstopper escape? How? And I know exactly how that is. There is nobody minding the store as far as the release is concerned. There's nobody minding the store as far as the testing is concerned. And they've turned a blind eye to this. Well, that's the only way that you get here.
No, and we've been talking about this for a long time now. And here we are again.
Months.
Every week there's at least one time.
And here we are again.
Is there any good news out there?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Thank you.
No. So
well, tell us something good then anyway.
Well, then I'm going to have to move us to our tip of the week segment in order to do that, Larry. But before we actually get to this week's tip of the week, I want to remind everybody, hey, iTechGear was founded with the intent of making technology easier for everyone to use and understand. This team specifically has dedicated their entire writing careers, and those careers go back decades, kids. All right, decades.
Yep, I'm old.
For this specific purpose. We've dedicated our writing careers our decades-long writing careers to this specific purpose. So every week we're going to have a tip here and feature it on the iTechGear Weekly. It's going to be authored by one of our experienced editors. And if you've got questions, concerns, or suggestions, or dare I say, ideas, go ahead and send those over to tips@itechgear.org, and we will do our best to go ahead and get those on. And if we do, and we use your request, suggestion, idea, we're going to go ahead and give you your 15 seconds worth of fame. This week, again, Larry, I've got to thank you for the tip. And it is really all about minding the store and making certain that you be careful with those free downloads. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Free software can be tempting. All right. But not all downloads that you find out there are safe. Some of those things, depending on where they come from, can contain hidden malware or a boatload of ads that take over your machine and slow it down. All right. Always download programs from official websites or from trusted app stores. All right. Not random pop-ups or third-party sites. And before you install these particular apps, please read reviews or do a quick search to check if others have had issues or problems or if any level of concerns. Pay attention during the installation. Many free programs try to sneak in extra toolbars or other apps that unless you uncheck the box that says, yeah, go ahead and install this toolbar, install this extra thing, you're going to go ahead and you end up with it. Once that stuff gets in, kids, it buries itself so deep, you're going to have a hard time getting it out. All right. A good rule of thumb here is if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Sticking to trusted sources, a trusted app store, whether it be the Windows Store, the Apple App Store, whether on your iPhone, iPad, or Mac, or the Google Play Store for your Google phones. That's the best place to get your apps. All right. Sticking to those trusted sources protects your computer or your device and and more importantly, your personal information from any unnecessary risk. I cannot stress this any
Let me
further.
add one thing to
Please do,
that. That's
Larry.
kind of an old tip, and don't think for a minute there aren't some good apps out there that aren't in the various app
Oh,
stores
there
like the
are. There
Google
are.
Play. And the reason for that is some of the things that those apps do
Mhm.
simply can't be sandboxed like Apple requires, or to some extent Google.
Agreed.
So all you can do is try your best to vet out the good apps. I have tried this a couple of times, and actually, your AI bots do a really good job. If you say program XYZ, is this thing really any good? It'll tell you if there are bad comments out there, and it may
Yeah.
get some of them wrong, but it'll give you a reasonable idea. If you get 10 different hits from an AI bot that says, well, here's 10 things that show this is bad, this is bad, don't do it. Just don't do it.
Right.
And
So
It's a thing.
I want to go ahead and give an example of an app that's not out there or available in, say, the Mac App Store. All right. And this is from a company that's been out there for God, for
one password is a good example with a
one
Mac app.
password is a good example.
The extensions in the store, but not the app.
Right. Bartender for Mac. All right.
Yeah.
Is another great example. It is not available in the Mac App Store, but it is available at macbartender.com. And this is not about mixing alcoholic drinks. This is about managing your menu bar. All right. So that you don't have to, I mean, you can have a boatload of extensions and those icons stretch across your Mac. And if you've got a Mac with a notch,
Yeah.
it
I had to go back to
stops.
it.
It
I
stops
couldn't.
at the notch. All
Yeah.
right. And you don't get anything past that. It
You
doesn't,
know,
skip the notch and go
it,
past the notch and then start again. It
if
just
you get it,
stops.
if you get a new MacBook Neo, you wouldn't have that problem.
This is
But
true.
no,
Well, there you go.
No knots.
I'm sorry, I had to go there, kids.
That's all right. That's all right.
No.
But the whole point here is that this particular app gives you a way to do some interesting things, and you can
Yeah.
go look that up at Mac Bartender. And this is not this week's tip or pick or anything, but this is something that
A lot of apps like that.
yeah, there's a lot of apps that are out there that do specialized things like this that are not available in the App Store. Go find them. This is a trusted app. You'll find them in other app stores that are trusted. I believe that Bartender is something that you'll find in a third party app store called Set App. All right, so you can go and find it there. But they're out there. Find them and be very wary. Is my point. All right, and that's all I have to say about that. So that is our tip of the week segment. Be very careful from where you get free software. And if software is free, the company that makes this is going to get their pound of flesh. They're going to get their buck somehow. If it's free, it's likely that you are the product. Your data is the product. You give them your data for free in order to get the software. All right. Google does that a lot. All right.
These mobile games do it a lot.
Yeah. Mobile games do it a lot. All right. Anything that you have to sit through ad after ad after ad after ad does that. So there you go. Mm-hmm. So be careful with those free downloads. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and move us to our pick of the week segment. And again, I want to go ahead and just take a moment and remind everybody that our show picks are typically hardware, software, and other items of interest that we have individually purchased and that we actually use and that we like enough that we want to go ahead and recommend them to you, our growing listener base. These are not paid advertisements or anything that we have any kind of an affiliated marketing relationship with. If they were, the editorial policy over at iTechGear.org indicates that we would have to notify you of that up front. These are just things that we sincerely believe in, and that we want to bring to you at the end of each show. Why, Joel? You're muted, brother.
Why, sure Joel? Was, but because we like you.
There you go. And what is this week's pick, Joel? What do you got?
It's a oldie but a goodie. I as we all know, I'm an amateur radio operator, and we have various little boards that we like to play around with, and one of them for me is something called a multi-mode digital voice modem, otherwise known as the MMDVM. Well, that is a very popular hat that you can plug into my pick of the week, which is, it's been out for a while. It originally was $15, but still relatively affordable at about $37. Raspberry Pi 02W, which is still available, still being made. I just bought another one to power this little board. In fact,
what does this thing actually do?
So, well, it's a computer. Raspberry Pi 20W is just a computer. It runs Linux, and it fits in. This is the combination of the radio board and the.
How big is that thing, Joe, for our listeners?
It's about 3 inches by about an inch. By about 3/4 of an inch. It's very tiny.
Tiny. I mean, that's a little.
And but the Pi 20W is a very nice little machine that you can use when you need power, computing power, but you don't need a lot of computing power. So it has a 1 gig quad core 64-bit ARM Cortex A53 CPU, only 512 megabytes of SRAM.
Yeah, not a lot, but it doesn't need it.
No, it doesn't need it. It's got 2.4 gigahertz BGN wireless LAN, Bluetooth 4.2. It does have the camera connector if you want to connect the camera to it. It runs off of micro USB on the go port. So it's
got a mini HDMI port too.
It does actually, yeah. So and it's perfect for this because it doesn't really have to drive a lot of things in order to basically convert a digital signal coming down from the internet, running the AMB codec if it's D-Star, one of the other ones, because it does the radio board I use with this does D-Star and DMR, which is another digital mode, and then also Yaesu System Fusion, which are 3 very popular digital voice modes for amateur radio. But the computer doesn't have to be super powerful,
right.
And it works just great. In fact, it works better than I had a device that was more or less very similar running a rock chip of some sort, some Chinese rock chip, but the battery in it decided it was going to poof out, and I just couldn't be.
Expanding batteries are not
for
good.
folks who don't know what a Raspberry Pi does. I mean, I've always thought of it is, and it's just my own little thing, but it's like a little computer tractor. It's utilitarian. It's not pretty. It is so versatile. It'll do absolutely anything.
It's
Right.
a real
It's a
basic
little
computer.
bitty tractor.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a little basic computer, mostly just the main board and some features on it. But yeah, it's awesome. It's just an awesome little thing.
I mean,
If you've ever played with one, they're a great place to start playing with a computer.
Right.
And
No,
it's
but
not-
interestingly enough, this particular thing, I mean, it's got a micro SD card that you can go ahead and with like a V30 card, you can go ahead and put up to 2 terabytes of storage on this thing.
Easy.
All right. It's got a mini HDMI port, so it will go ahead and allow you to connect an external monitor. It's got a USB 2 port. It's got a CSI 2 camera port. It's got built-in Wi-Fi.
Yep.
This thing is going to allow you to
Built-in
handle very
Bluetooth?
basic.
Has
Yeah,
Bluetooth?
Bluetooth 4.2.
GPIO pins. That's the biggest reason I bought another one is because the default board, like if you bought one direct from Raspberry, well, actually don't sell them directly on RaspberryPi.com, but if you bought a board direct from Adafruit or some of the other ones, they typically do not populate the pins that I needed. So I bought another one that already had those pre-soldered because those pads are awfully tiny. But so like I said, didn't need a lot of power. Now I could have taken the same board and plugged it into a Raspberry Pi 5 and it would have worked just fine because it's the same set of GPIO pins.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Now this is something that you're going to use to power, it's very, very specific and very limited.
yes.
Linux installations because it runs an ARM chip here.
Right. If your needs are more than
a quad core 64-bit system on a chip.
Right.
All right, running at about 1 gigahertz. So it's not a real huge powerhouse, but what it will do very well. This is going to run a specific distro of Linux that will drive in your case probably radio based software or
this is
or
customized.
functions.
Right. What I'm using has a customized version of Linux called PyStar, which is what a amateur radio thing that enables me to do all these different modes.
So keep in mind, kids, this is basically kind of a motherboard computer. It's not the whole computer. It's not a keyboard. It's not a screen. It's not a mouse. It can drive all this kind of stuff, though.
Yes.
Let's make that clear.
You
but
have
it's not.
to buy a separate.
It's kind of an electronics kit.
You can even buy a package that's got it all in it.
This is kind of an electronics kit version of a computer. This is the base core, what you would need to make the rest of it work.
Yeah, think of it as like an Apple. Think of this as an Apple One. Like the original Apple One really was nothing more than just the
more powerful than that. But
but you understand what I'm saying, though. Yeah. My point is that that's all that the Apple One was. This is similar. This is basically just the board.
It's very cool, but you need other parts if you wanted to make a complete, kind of working computer for what we would normally consider a personal computer kind of use.
This one is basically probably more use if you need to run something that needs a full complete operating system that you can't drive with a microcontroller, like a PIC chip or something like that. This is perfect for that because I needed a full operating system. I needed to run Linux is what PyStar is. I needed to run that, and that's not going to run on a microcontroller. Now, if I could make it run on a microcontroller, I absolutely would because I don't need this to be powerful. I just need it to do a job.
And that's what this is for. The things where you want it to just do a job. That's what it's perfect for.
Like the other option they have, if you don't need something that can run an operating system, is the Raspberry Pi Pico 2, which is basically a microcontroller board, which I have yet to play with. But there's other more powerful. Like you can get the Raspberry Pi 500 Plus, which you're talking almost as much as a little bit cheaper than the MacBook Neo. But that's more like a full computer because that's going to have 8 gig RAM and you can do desktop-y like things with it.
But this is
not.
No. This is going to do very specific. In your case, as an example, very specific ham radio based tasks. All right, and that's it.
Yep.
This is only $37.90.
Yep.
This is just for the motherboard. You're going to need a case. More than likely, you're going to need a
micro
SD card for storage. You're going to need, if you want to go ahead and see exactly what's going on, you're going to need to have a dongle for the micro HDMI or the mini HDMI port for this. And you may also need something that you can connect to the USB 2 port for this as well. But the point is, this is a very specialized computer, and at $37.90, not a bad deal.
Nope, not at all. It does exactly what I need, and it doesn't do anything more.
Exactly.
I mean, and
you wouldn't expect it to for $37.90.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right. Thank you, Joel.
You're welcome.
And that, kids, is this week's show. This has been the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 166. So long, MacPro. We barely knew you. Recorded live Sunday, March 29th, 2026, live from iTechGear Central. For Mr. Chris Gavula, Brother Joe McLaughlin, and Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin, I want to say, hey, we'll see you next time.